I'm trying a new thing because the GoPro was having problems with audio syncing and just I was having to convert files because it doesn't save an MP4. It's a whole thing. It wasn't working for me. It's what I had. So now I'm going to try and use my phone because I have a gimbal for it and we'll see if it works out. Just have something. I'm back now to talk about a series I started a while ago and I had to reread. Silver in the Bone and The Mirror of Beasts is a duology from Alexander Bracken. They are an Arthurian tale. I wouldn't really call them a retelling. I would call them an evolution of the Arthur story because we're not retelling anything that Arthur did. And any of those characters were in the modern day and going forward using some of those characters and some of the lore, I guess, of Arthur, the legends of Arthur. I love Arthurian legend, so that's why I picked these up. I've read a lot of different things over many years. The Mists of Avalon movie that was on TNT, like, gosh, 20 something years ago, I watched that thing so many times. Yes, we know Marion Zimmer Bradley is a not so nice person, or was a not so nice person in her lifetime. We know that now. Besides the point, when that movie was on TNT, I watched The Mists of Avalon so many times. So I love Arthurian legend, and that is the only reason I picked these up, is to read them and have a good time. And that's pretty much what I got. Was a really fun Arthurian take, something I hadn't read before. I have these Owl Crate editions that I have signed because I really like Silver in the Bone when I read it a couple years ago, so I ended up picking this one up from Owl Crate, and then I picked up The Mirror of Beasts when it came out, and then I let them sit there for a very long time, and I pretty much forgot what happens in Silver in the Bone. So when I went to go reread this, I had to when I went to go read this one for the first time, I had to go reread this one. Even though I have these copies, I kind of needed an audiobook, and I knew that this wasn't like a high fantasy or anything that I really needed to super pay attention to. That sounds awful. Just that there's not a crazy amount of world building and things to keep track of, so I could easily read it in audio and not miss anything. So I picked them up on Libby instead and listened to the audio from Libby. I'll tell you a little bit about them. Silver in the Bone is about Tamsin Lark. She is what this world calls a hollower. Her and her brother are hollowers. They are kind of like Indiana Jones type people, but sort of mafia-esque about it. There's different groups of hollowers and different families of hollowers that have a bunch of money, and they go around the world and they're tracking down legendary items and hoarding them for themselves, essentially. Tamsin and her brother do a lot of kind of contract work for the sorceresses in the world, and the sorceresses will hire them to go and find various magical items, legendary items, and bring them back for money. And that's how they make a living. Now, Tamsin and her brother were abandoned. It's kind of, depending on who you talk to, he was either abandoned or he died, between Tamsin and her brother, Cabell. What happened, because Tamsin doesn't like her father figure. Their father figure, who adopted them, disappeared 10 years prior. And Tamsin has a lot of unresolved trauma about that. Cabell, not as much. He was closer to their father. But he disappeared and has left Cabell and Tamsin to fend for themselves. Now, this book is about finding him, and they stumble across a coin that he left behind. And they're being chased by other hollowers. All this crazy stuff's happening, and they end up in Avalon trying to find their lost father figure. And Avalon is now a wasteland. Things have happened over centuries. The Lady of the Lake is gone. the priestesses of Avalon are fighting the awful monsters that are there day in and day out. And so they join up with the priestesses, and they're trying to still find their father figure, but also help with what's going on in Avalon. And that is what book 1 is essentially about. Now, in book 2, a lot of stuff went down in book 1. They released the Lord of Death, who was assumed the body of King Arthur from Avalon for the beginning of book 2, and Cabell has joined forces with them, and their father is alive. We find all this stuff out, and that's pretty much where we begin. And this is about the priestesses and Tamsin coming back to the world after they've released the Lord of Death onto humanity, and they're trying to stop him now and get everything back to the way it was supposed to be. And that's as much as I really give without spoiling too much of either book. There's also a bit of a YA romance that goes on, and I guess you would call it enemies to lovers, but it's really light on the enemies. It's just Emrys, who calls Tamsin Bird because of her name Lark, and he is the son of a really wealthy hollower and has had everything in his life that he could dream of, but then there's the tropey, the usual thing where everything is not as it seems, and he's got to show Tamlin, oh god, Tamsin, that he is not his father. He's not unempathetic. He's a real boy. He's a human. He can be loved. He can love, kinds of things. But even from the beginning, we just get this idea that Tamsin is just abrasive to people because of growing up. She was left as a child to her father, her adoptive father, and then he leaves and all these people leave in her life, so she's just super abrasive to everybody that she meets, and they kind of tackle that through book 1 and then continue to tackle that in book 2 as her character, trying to get her to stop being so mean to people and abrupt. So you can see that she's just kind of grating, and Emrys does that boys flirt by being mean thing a little bit, but you can also see from the very start that he likes her. Like, if you've seen boys flirt in middle school, you can tell from what Emrys is doing that he likes her, but he knows he can't get close because she's gonna bite his head off. But they get through some things together throughout both books, and there's no spice at all. There's some kissing, and there's like a closed door moment, and that's it. So no spice, more about just a youthful romance that grows between Tamsin and Emrys throughout their journey. They also have multiple points where Tamsin can't trust Emrys, and it's her again and again getting over her trust issues. So Emrys is actually my favorite character in the book, and I think it's because Tamsin is so abrasive that it was hard to read her at times. And on the audio, I have sensitivity to certain sounds, like crying and screaming and things, and there's just certain tones that I really don't like. And the whiny voices and the Tamsin constantly having those moments. The voice actor was great, or the narrator was fine, was great. It was just these moments that Tamsin is fighting herself and mistrusting that I could hear it in the audio, which is fantastic for a voice actor, but it grated on me personally. So I think that's why I didn't connect with Tamsin as much. I kind of found her annoying. But Emrys, I actually really enjoyed. I enjoyed his arc going from being the spoiled rich boy to helping save the world and going against his father. He's my favorite character, and he's not even the main character. he's the romance interest. So, that's the gist of both of them. I thought they were a super unique take on Arthurian legend. Like I said, it was not a retelling. It's an evolution of Arthur, and the idea of the Hollowers and gathering all of these magical items around the world was cool and very Indiana Jones to me. So I enjoyed the world, and I enjoyed what Alexandra was doing with it. I thought she wrote pretty well. I unfortunately am in my 30s now for the last couple years, and I am finding myself less and less able to fully connect with YA fantasy. Like, they were entertaining, they were good books, but I'm not going to keep these, actually. Because I really liked this a couple years ago and where it was going, but now that I read the second one, I'm just like, I'm not the target audience anymore for these. They were great. I enjoyed them, but they're not going to be kept on my shelves anymore. So I enjoyed my time with them. I unfortunately grew out of them, I guess, between book 1 and book 2, reading them. But overall, I enjoyed these. I really did, and I'm sad to let them go because, like I said, I like Arthurian legends and it takes on it a lot, but shelf space is prime real estate, unfortunately, and somebody else will enjoy these more than I will, and would like these signed editions from Owl Crate. So I will be offloading these from my library into somebody else's who will really enjoy them. Anyway, if you really like Arthurian tales, Silver in the Bone, Mirror of Beasts from Alexander Bracken, pretty fun and exciting, unique take that I've read. It's just very YA fantasy, and that's just not something I'm gelling with anymore. Anyway, I'll be back with another book soon. Let me know in the comments if you read these, or if you have any other Arthurian tales that you loved. I think at some point I want to do a video of all the different Arthurian things that I've read. I don't know if that I really want to talk about Mists of Avalon too much, but we can acknowledge it without giving any money to that author who has passed away since all of that. Anyway, yeah, let me know if there's anything that you love in the Arthurian tales, Arthurian legends genre, I would say, and I will probably read it. Bye!